as we do when any of the great prophets, including Jesus Christ and his blessed Mother Mary, are mentioned, Muslims pray for them. So it's not like it could be maybe disconcerting for people who are not familiar with that, but that's what Muslims are doing. And Muslims are supposed to do it every time you hear the name of the prophet. And it's not praying to the prophet, but praying for the prophet. So praying to God for the prophet. That God bless him and act in peace. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Peace be upon him. And that's on the theoretical way, but really, because it has all of these different implications in how we think, how we behave, and how we love, and who we love, and what we love. And that's kind of what I wanted to begin with tonight. There's a beautiful narration that's found in many of the authentic collections of hadith. Hadith is a report about the Prophet, a narration about Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And there's a narration found in several different authentic books of hadith where the Prophet is reported to have said, I was made to love three things from your world: perfume, women, and prayer. And there's a number of subtleties to this narration. The first thing is that the Prophet didn't say, I have loved. He said they were made beloved to me. So there's a passive verb here. It's very important. And again, when we study language and understand language, it's very important to understand the implications that a given linguistic nuance can have to the meaning of what we're saying. So he says, Hubbiba ilayya. They were made beloved to me. Three things, min dunyakum, from your world. So he doesn't say, I love three things of the world, but three things were made beloved to me from this world of yours. So from the outset, before he even states what they are, there's this ever-present sense of prophetic devotion to God, even as it pertains to mundane things of the world. Are you all following me? So before he even states what they are, he's like, look, I like these things, but I'm not attached to them. Or rather, that they're not coming from a capricious place, that they're not from an egotistical place, right? But they're from a very deep prophetic place. And the first thing he says is perfume. And that's interesting for a number of reasons. There's a bunch of different narrations that are, again, good narrations, where they say that the companions of the Prophet used to actually take his sweat and would add it to perfume to make the perfume more potent. In other words, his natural scent, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, was perfume-like. It smelled good. Anas ibn Malik, who was a younger companion, he says, I never touched silk or brocade or anything softer than the palm of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the palm of the Messenger of God. And I never smelled musk or anything sweeter than the scent of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And Anas doesn't say, I never smelled musk like the musk that the Prophet wore. He says, I never smelled musk that was sweeter than the scent of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Meaning his natural smell was good. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And that's because God perfected both his meaning and his form. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So when he says that he loves perfume, it was narrated that if the Prophet patted a boy on the head, that you could smell the scent for a day or 2 days after that from the smell of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now sometimes you shake a brother's hand and you can smell it for a couple of days, hopefully it smells good. Right? But that's usually, because you put on cologne, perfume on his hand. You know what I mean? Not because that's not his natural scent, but that's the natural scent of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And then if he passed down a roadway, you knew that he passed down that road because you could smell him. In other words, they could distinguish the smell of the Prophet from the smell of other people. Are you all following me? So he was naturally perfumed. Imagine a human being that was naturally perfumed. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And with all of that, he says that he loves perfume. So not from a place of need, but from a place of recognition that perfume is a virtuous thing. And there's an important point here. Good perfume, if you put it on, you shouldn't be able to smell it on yourself. It's actually in the science of perfume, if you put it on and you can still smell it, that's not the right perfume for you. Right? I mean, if you maybe, right, but you can smell it, But if you can just put it on, you can just smell it, it's pervasive, it's not good for from the perspective of the science of perfume. So what does that have to do with it? He loves perfume not for himself, but because in wearing perfume is a charity for other people. Right? And this is very important, and this is an important lesson too for those of us that are new to Islam. They say that cleanliness is next to what? Godliness. And the Prophet said, Islamu nadifun fatanaddafu. Islam is clean, so cleanse yourselves. Be clean, people. فَإِنَّهُ لَا يَدْخُلُ الْجَنَّةَ إِلَّا النَّظِيفُ. For indeed only the cleansed shall enter paradise. Now, we know that this doesn't mean that if a person was, they had a job that, whatever, they got dirty, or if a person lived in the desert or forest or whatever, who lives in the forest? But you know what I'm saying? If they got dirty, it doesn't mean that. It means that a person strives their best to maintain cleanliness, and ultimately, that cleanliness outwardly is followed by cleanliness of the heart. So cleanliness is exogenous, and this pertains to a number of different levels. Number one, how your clothes, how your body smells. And I'll tell you, and this is a piece of advice, you can't usually smell the scent of your own home on yourself. So if you're not careful, you'll be walking around smelling like mama's kitchen, and you don't know it. So brother goes to hug you, and when he makes that face like, whoa, it's not because... It's because you had your coat hanging too close to the door of the kitchen, right? You should not put your clothes where there's going to be food cooking, because then you walk away smelling, like you work in McDonald's or whatever. It's a bad look. So how your clothes smell, you should try to keep your clothes smelling again how you smell. And the Prophet perfumed himself regularly and commanded his followers to perfume not only themselves, but their places of prayer. And it's strange now that people see this, where the oud is burning, and they think it's like some weird technique innovation. It's in Sahih Bukhari. You talk about the Sunnah. It's in rigorously authenticated collections of hadith that Umar would burn oud every Friday in the mosque. And that the Prophet said, burn incense in your mosque. And I was like, oh, that's a Sufi thing, right? Hey, if it's a Sufi thing, call it what you want to. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a Sunnah of the Prophet to perfume your places of prayer. Like Uncle Ibrahim was saying last week, went into a mosque and it smelled so much like bleach, people could barely pray. Right? You do the bleach and the pine sol before people come. You don't just kind of dump it in the hallway, right? Your place of prayer should smell good. And alhamdulillah, Brother Suleiman talked about success measures. For me, those same things are success measures. When my children want to come here, I got an email from a brother's mom a few days ago. Can I share it with you guys? This is a success measure. Remind me I was talking about perfume. Can you guys remind me? She said, I want to express my gratitude to you, Mustafa, and for providing a healthy place for my son Blank to grow, learn, and become the man God has intended. I have seen such tremendous growth in him since he has become close to you both. From the heart of a mother, I thank you for your contribution to that. May you and all you endeavor be richly blessed. Amen. This is a brother his mother is not outwardly Muslim, to my knowledge, but she recognizes a good growth. So you talk about success measures, right? And I wrote her back and said, if that's the only thing I ever got it'd be enough for all of the work that we do. If one mother walks away feeling like a brother's conversion to Islam and that his growth is, you know what I'm saying? Because you know what it means to bring heart, love, to enjoy to the heart of a mother? So it's a success measure. Another success measure for me is when people walk in and they go, it smells good in here. You know what I'm saying? That's a success measure, for real, for real. And if you ever go to a good spa, they don't call it a massage when you come in. Like if you go to get a massage, they say, what experience are you having today? Then you go get the massage and how was your experience? Right? Right? That's just to go get a massage. What about when you're trying to come get a spiritual massage? Right? How was your experience? How did the place look? How did it smell? How did you feel? So the success measures for us are very much related to that, and they were for the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. There was a time we were walking into CMF, Vacaville. It's one of the two main prisons in California that also serves as a hospital. It's in Vacaville, California. California Medical Facility. Imam Zayd and a group of us were going to visit the Muslims there, and as we were walking in, there was this older white American lady behind us, and she said, again, success measures, right? She said, I just love being around the Muslims. We wish there was more of that being said. I wish I could have gotten her on camera, right? She's like, I just love being around the Muslims. And we turn around like, y'all just smell so good all the time. That's a success measure, for real, for real. And the Muslims took this serious, because I am mentioning this not to be frivolous, this is real. The Muslims took this so serious that some of the jurists amongst the Shafi school of law, for example, hold that there's no extravagance in spending money on perfume. That you can spend whatever you want on perfume and it's not considered extravagant because it's so important to smell good. May Allah always make it smell good. Another thing to be cautious of, and I think I'm maybe a little bit hypersensitive to this because I mix with the community a lot and because people come up and talk to me, is the importance of making sure that your breath is fresh. For real. Because you, again, can't can't usually smell your own breath, but you can be on Funk 3000, and you're talking to someone and they don't know. For real. And now you say, well, what does that have to do with Islam? The Prophet said, if I didn't fear that it would be a burden on my followers, I would have commanded them to brush their teeth before every prayer, 5 times a day. He says to use a toothstick, but that is not, it's to remove filth from your mouth and to make sure that there's healthy salivation so that your mouth doesn't become dry, because one of the causes of bad breath is that you have inadequate salivation. You don't have enough saliva in your mouth. And so the miswak, the toothstick, stimulates your salivation process and makes sure that your mouth stays fresh. One of the things I learned from one of my main teachers is that he always carried mints with him everywhere he went. And he said that my grandfather, Habib Ahmed Mashur al-Haddad, he loved polos. They don't have them that often in the States. If you ever see polos, if you want to give me a gift, buy me polos. They're like, what are they called? They're like, what's it called? Like lifesavers, you know? That's what they call my favors, yo. You know what I mean? That's just gonna throw at people. You know what I mean? They're like lifesavers, but they have them a lot in Britain and overseas and stuff. But the Habib used to love polos. I was with Omar Daytona, and he told us that. And so ever since then, anytime we see polos, grab a case. Because even though he's a great scholar, he would always make sure that his breath was fresh. May Allah give us fresh breath. I don't want you guys like walk out here being like, so. But be mindful of that, you know, be mindful of that. Because people don't remember that you can, the sister you're talking to, sis, or the brother you're talking to, brother, they're not going to be like, hey dude, your breath totally stinks, man. They're not going to say anything unless they're your homie. That's how you know you're real homie. You know, you call a booger and you know it's homie, right? You got a booger, you know what I'm saying? Allah make us real friends. Yeah, so it's important to smell good, and it's a big part of what Islam came to do. Another serious implication is that if you look at the historical trajectory of Muslims in America, in the later period, meaning from the 1940s on, that narrative was very much dominated by proto-Islamic groups like the Nation of Islam. And one of the things that set the nation aside, and one of the ways that you knew that it was someone from the nation, is what I like to call it the CBF, amongst other things. You guys know what the CBF stands for? The cocoa butter factor, right? If there's a very high, CBF. Brothers from the nation, the cocoa butter is thick, balanced, right? Line up, clothes iron, you know what I'm saying? Shoe shine, and have beautiful vernacular. Brothers that have been through universities. These are brothers a lot of times came from the bottom of the barrel, but they knew that one of the most important things about them being Muslim is the way they dressed, the way they spoke, the way they smelled, and the way they treated people. Right? I bought a book yesterday at a store that I was at a store, and I bought a book. My son was with me. I was at the Brooks Brothers in Chicago, and my son was with me, and there was a book called How to Raise a Gentleman. I would recommend that you all get that, especially if you have sons, right? I hope there's a How to Raise a Lady. I was thinking about it because I didn't go to the lady side. I didn't buy my wife anything this time. But I saw the book, and I picked it up, and I was thinking about it. And you know what it goes through talking about? The importance, number one, of being a good example as a parent. The please, thank you, excuse me rule. That as a parent, even when you're telling your child, you're asking them